Nishmas Rivka Zahava Rivka Bas Yehuda V'Shulamis. Rabbi Lebarsky wondered if there was anyone in Michlalah now who knew Linda. The answer is, as far as I know, not. She was on Machal before I came to Michlalah, before I came to Israel. The one who used to speak about her often was Rabbi Applebaum, Nachman's father. Rabbi Applebaum Olav Hashem was an executive in Michlalah. When that made the kesher, and that's worthwhile and appropriate to mention now as well. What we're going to do for the next 50 minutes or so is not to solve any problems whatsoever. Is to make you aware of what issues are, approaches to them, and an opportunity to have some ammunition. And particularly as we will begin with, as Chazal say, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu always gives us the refuah before the makkah. There's always solutions. There's always solutions. There's always problems, but there are always solutions that if we are aware of them and keep them in mind and cognizant and faithful to fulfill them, then those solutions are able to be successful. And the paper that you just received, has more or less what's going to be on the screen. The screen has a few more things that's on the paper, but if you're interested in following, so the gist of what we're going to talk about today is on the front side, and some makorot that we will mention is on the second side that you will see it. Let me tell you about what the title is, what you see from here. The title is taken from a very famous speech that was given by a leading Israeli politician general, Adam Chashuv Ma'od, who had very strong opinions before he came to a very high office in Medina Yisrael. Once he came to that high office in Medina Yisrael, he changed his opinions drastically. And everyone wondered what was the source, what was the reason for this drastic change of opinions. And he said, Ma shorim mikan, lo ro'im misham. What you see from here, you don't see from there. I didn't know what I was getting into. I react differently. Our question is, with what we're going to begin, and that's why the theme is correct, is what do we see from here? And to know, in fact, that what we see from here is emes, and the more that I'm at a certain place and I'm able to use my abilities, I'm able to use my seichel, my chokhmah, Hashem's chonein hada'as, and able to be aware of what's there and to develop a attitude and an approach, the better off I will be equipped to deal with all those things that arise. And before I use the word problem, but maybe I should retract from using the word problem. Not everything that arises is a problem. It can be a challenge, and depending on the way that I meet that challenge, that will depend whether it's an opportunity or a problem. Because when there's a challenge that arises before me, and I'm able to successfully navigate the challenge, I'm able to successfully deal with it, then that has become an opportunity to make me a better person, to give me more koach for other challenges that will arise in the future. On the other hand, if I don't meet the challenge well, not because it was something I wasn't unable to do, but because I didn't think about things, I didn't prepare myself as well as I could, I didn't develop myself with the maturity that was appropriate for me, with the level of my intelligence, with the level of my experience, and then it becomes a problem, then it's a problem. And problems, just like Averos, mitzvah goreres, a mitzvah and Averos goreres Avera, so therefore opportunities, gorim opportunities, and when we mess up, that brings the other way as well. So let's take a look, please, on the back of the page. The first makor, there's more than that we're going to read, but let's just take a look at it. Where is it? Nope, didn't want that. So, we'll read together with me. Maseches Pesachim Daf Nun Amar Aleph. Rav Yosef Berebi Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi Chalash. He became ill v'itnaged. He died, semi-died. Ki Hadar, when he came back to consciousness, when he came back to life, Amar le'avua, his father, Levi, one of the early Amoraim, said to his son Rabbi Yoshua, Machazis, you're up in the Olamot Elyonim. What did you see there? Amar le. So the son said to the father, Olam hafilch reisi. What I saw there was everything the opposite, the way that we live. Elyonim lamata. The people who we admire, who are on top, they were on the bottom. But tachtonim, the people that we don't pay attention to, lamalo, they were on top. Strange world. It was a dream, right? We have dreams. Nothing makes sense. Olam tapucho reisi. I saw an upside-down world. Amar lo b'ni, olam borur ra'isa. What you saw was clear. That's enough. What you saw was clear. What appears to be worlds that are opposites does not always mean that what is true is what's there on the other side. The grass may be greener on the other side, but emes, in truth, is not truer on the other side. And therefore, what we have to do it's right here. Okay. Therefore, what we have to do is know what the Olam HaEmes is. Olam HaEmes isn't just Olam Haba. Olam HaEmes is the perspective of Torah, the perspective of Torah that we learn, both in Halacha, both in Hashkafa, that we receive from the Gedolei Hador. And even if we are zoche to be exposed to many Gedolei Hador who don't necessarily think the same, there's Avtacha from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You follow what they say, and you're doing what's well. So let's see what the issues are, and let's follow them. Let's see what things that we have to know as our own preparation for meeting those challenges were. Okay? First is personal integrity. Am I honest with myself? Personal honesty isn't just a means of how I communicate with you, because I have a bias. I want you to think nicely of me. I want to make myself a little bit better than I certainly am. I want to put on my best foot forward when I'm in public, and everyone should think wonderful of me. But if the image that I want to project to you about me, which is inaccurate, hopefully not terribly inaccurate, but it's inaccurate, is that same image that I have of myself, I'm missing my personal integrity. I don't have internal honesty. I'm not able to see for myself how I'm supposed to be. Then a lot what we're going to say today is going to be irrelevant, because we have to have personal reflection. We have to have an opportunity to think about where we are, who we are, what the things that face us. If I don't deal honestly with myself, then there's very little hope. So that's the first part. This inner emes that a person has to say. Know yourself. And then be in touch with others who can help you get those understandings, to peel away those layers of sheker that sometimes come to us. And then we have to come to an issue of what I will call values clarification. Because that which is challenging to us are those things that perhaps I'm not sure about myself. The more that I'm certain, the more that I'm certain about the values that I hold, not just to give lip service, not to get up and make a speech. Everybody here can get up and make a speech about, maybe not Kol HaTorah Kula, whatever you do, can sound like the best, firmest person in the whole world. What does it mean inside? That's part of the personal integrity. What are the issues that face us? Okay? We'll talk about some at greater length as we go on. But first are what is called nicely gender issues. You live in a world in which there's lots and lots of confusion. English girls will tell you that in the schools, that when their Ministry of Education in England is terribly forceful, all sorts of schools have to talk about things that they would never dream talking about, and talk about personal choices and doing what you feel like and what you would like to do, other things that you know about. And not only those challenges on the outside, But for many people that we know, fine, nice Torah people, they're confused on the inside as well. Why is the Torah against same-gender relationships? Why does the Torah forbid so many things? After all, the people there are happy, so why should it be my business to interfere with others? If I understand why it's right, whether I understand it only and simply from the perspective that the Torah says it's wrong, or I understand the fact that this Torah says that it's wrong because there are certain parts of the nature of people that make it wrong, even though in the short term some people might like it, or if myself I don't really understand it and I have my own doubts about things because I don't understand it, doesn't mean that chas v'shalom I'll violate. It just means that I don't really understand what's wrong. Then that becomes not just a challenge on the outside, which we'll talk about, that becomes a challenge on the inside. And I have an obligation that's part of my limud Torah to understand things. I will confess to you, if you'd asked me to tell you deep inside, do I understand why shatnez is usher? I don't know. It's usher. Check my clothes. I don't wear shatnez. I don't expect to be challenged someplace in the outside world. How come you keep shatnez? Right? I won't be in a setting where somebody says, you don't wear wool and linen together. How could that be? Don't you know? Why can't you wear what you want to wear? I don't imagine that's going to be a challenge that's presented to me that I'll have to defend myself and my religion in Torah and to defend it. Because that's not an issue in the outside world. Other things are. So I have to clarify those things. And there's other issues of morality as well. That which is accepted in the outside world, which the Torah doesn't accept. Not everything that's in the outside world is possible. There are things in the outside world which are. I have to understand the differences. That's my obligation. It's no less an obligation than learning Hilchos Shabbos. It's no less an obligation than learning Hilchos Brachos. Because the issues of emunos videos are profound issues. If I'm never challenged by those issues, I know more, I know less. I know Tamei HaMitzvos more, I know Tamei HaMitzvos less. But once I am challenged and I'm expected, first, to be strong and steadfast inside, and then to represent Torah to the outside, and I'm not able to do so, I've got problems. I have to know my own religious standing too. Where am I more stark, and where am I less stark? I might be pleased with how I am, in terms of the things that I feel myself firm and strong, and less than pleased with those things which I feel myself weaker in and want to make myself stronger. Or I might have decided for myself, this is what's good for me, this isn't good for me. We're not talking about doing averos, but as we know, we're all sorts of people. And some of us will be mahadrin about issue A, and some of us will be mahadrin about issue B, and some of us will be kashrut regila about issue B, or kashrut regila about Israel, not treif. I have to know that too. Because I can't put myself in a position which I have to defend things that I'm not exactly sure whether if I understand them, or I want to be its defender. That's part of the personal integrity that goes with each person's knowledge. That's what a person has to know. And going together with that is an issue of increasing my own knowledge. How do I increase my own knowledge? What am I supposed to do? So the Chovos HaLevavos, who was a Rishon, writes as follows. It's on the sheet and it's on the board here as well. It says the Chovos HaLevavos, Shar Cheshbon HaNefesh. Read with me. Shetachshov im nafshecha. Think to yourself. V'titbana al kol inyan. Demand for yourself knowledge about every issue. Shenit yashev etzla midyanei yediat elokim v'torato. Things should be settled in your mind that you understand them about knowing Hashem, about His Torah, v'divrei rishonim, in terms of things. He was a Rishon, so his Rishonim are, I imagine, in the Gemara. V'chidot hachachamim, all sorts of remazim that exist. V'inyanei hatfilot, understand what you daven. But why am I telling you to know that? Obviously, you have to know Kol HaTorah Kula. It says the Chovos HaLevavos, I want to give you particular emphasis about those things, asher yadata me'es narutecha. Things that you've known since you were children. U'v'reishit gudulolcha, when you started to grow up. V'hatchalat limudecha. And when you began to learn what you learned in Gan, what you learned in first grade, what you learned in second grade. Why am I giving you special chizik for that learning? Ki tzurat ha'inyanim hadakin. Because knowing things which are delicate, things which are nuanced, things that aren't just a general type of statement, but have particulars about them. Eitzo mishakarato chalusha. If my knowledge of them is weak, it's not about the same thing that I've learned it well. So if I learned something in second grade, and it's very nice, I learned Torah stories, if you will, and now I'm a mature person with understanding, and that's what is retained in my mind. That's the knowledge that I have. Avram Avinu broke the psalim. The unfortunate joke is that the Jewish peace groups, P-E-A-H-C-E, they like the Jewish peace groups, P-I-E-C-E. They want to break up Judaism. They won't succeed. They won't succeed. We have the Avtacha from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but we have our Hishtadlus to do. And therefore I have to be knowledgeable about things. I have to know what's going on. And even if now, all of you are living in, with hearing less news in the past 7-8 months, and you've never heard since you're 5 years old, right? Because you don't know what's going on whatsoever. The fact is you have to be aware, and you have to know things. You have to read certain things and know what certain arguments are. That doesn't mean you always have to enter the argument. You have to know what you're comfortable doing, not what you're comfortable doing. But you have to have what to say, and you have to know why they're wrong. That's your personal obligation to the Jewish people in Tavshin Ayin Chet, and I imagine it's going to continue until Mashiach comes. And when you're in a campus situation, what do? Do you join other groups? Depends a little bit on your personality. But you have to choose the people who you're with. The people who you go with are not intelligent or don't behave nicely, even if the cause is correct, you don't want to be with them. There's all sorts of organizations that can give you information about them. Okay, there's things that come from Israel, online in Israel. There's things that come from the OU. Sometimes they put out things. Other groups as well put out things as well. But not every group that wants to defend Israel has values that are the same as ours. One of the most famous groups is called the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League. At one time it belonged to B'nai B'rith. I don't think it does anymore. But they have all sorts of values that are antithetical to our values. They believe and they promote gay rights. They promote all sorts of issues that we find repulsive, repugnant to us. So when a person joins a group that has values that we can't share with all the values, just because one of the values is something which is important to me and I agree with him on that aspect 100%, I can't join with him 100% with other things. I have to look for those things. Some of us will be fortunate enough, many of you will be fortunate enough not to have those issues. So you should know about things, you should be aware, but you don't have to deal with them. That's not your confrontation, that's not your challenge. You, of course, don't support BDS, you don't support all the anti-Israel stuff, so that's not your particular challenge. Those who are in those places who are, and those who like to be more in of a leadership role, and that depends on your personality, and like to be more in the forefront of things, you have to do it intelligently, you have to know what you're doing, because then you become a spokesman for the Jewish people. You're not just giving across your own piece of sense of things, your own ideas. You're a spokesman for the Jewish people, and you have to do so. You have instructors, okay? And there's issues that occurs in Israel too. Instructors who speak against, not against Medina Israel per se, they speak against Israel being a apartheid state like South Africa, Israel being cruel, etc., without any knowledge or because of the biases that they have built in, and then you have to make discussions. You have to make a decision. Do I speak up in class or do I be quiet? And that's situational. It depends on the situation. Do I have an obligation to speak up in class if the teacher is going to give me a bad grade? Maybe not. Do I have an obligation to speak up in class where if I say one word, the teacher is going to refute everything that I say, and maybe I would have been smarter had I kept quiet, and then he would have finished with his rant, and life would have gone on. Those are situations that no one can tell you about in advance because each situation is unique and each situation is different. But those are the awarenesses they have to have. Okay? If you feel like getting involved, get involved properly. Okay? Judaism, Medina Israel, needs people who are involved properly, who learn, who know what to say, and there are intelligent people who have intelligent information for us to use if I'm comfortable giving those things wrong. Sometimes I'll be working with other people Okay? And if they're not bad people, the coworkers I'm working with, then maybe I can have those discussions with them. These are one side, or not Torah values. They're Democrats or they're Republicans. Don't care so much. They're Hillary or they're Trump, right? That's not our business as Jews. But they convey ideas that are anti-Torah, and not all the time they're anti-Torah. They convey ideas that are anti-Torah. I have to be aware of it. If I'm aware of it, I can handle it. If I'm aware of apikourses, I can handle apikourses. If I think that I'm weak about it, then I need to do something about it. But if I'm not aware that what I'm being fed is apikourses, and certain ideas insinuate themselves within me, and they turn my mind thinking that I'm doing myself great harm. I'm ingesting treif. And treif food is one thing. Okay? Treif ideas, treif food gets out of the body at a certain point. Treif ideas stay within us for a long time. I have to be aware. So I need value clarification as well as philosophy. If I take philosophy courses, presumably most of us won't be threatened by the philosophy courses per se. Could be things that I don't know. I want to ask. But if I'm not aware that I'm being threatened, if I'm not aware of the things that are being presented to me, then I have big problems. That's why we said at the very beginning, the introduction is to have those contacts with people who, when I have questions, this is the idea, and I get a number of questions. Somebody sends me articles that they're reading in a certain school. What do I think about it? Is it right to read the article, wrong to read the article? What values are being conveyed? Or if you get to religious courses that talk about comparative religion, and sometimes they'll say, okay, I wrote, don't fall for. They are all very similar. They're all monotheistic. After all, we're the great religions of the world, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, as if we're all the same. Don't believe it. Comparative religion, there's issues, because what a person can study about other religions is very, very limited. You'll see it says Bible criticism and TNT. You know what TNT is? Dynamite. What else is it? The New Testament, right? I wrote a TNT. Okay? Probably, except in this forum, it's almost also to say New Testament, because it's not a new that replaces Torah, chas v'shal. It's also to read from the Christian Bible. It's also to read from the Christian Bible. If you're an individual who's involved in kiruv and working with missionaries, and you have to learn the things, then it's not also. But that's, of the 100 people sitting here, it's probably maybe none of the 100 people sitting here. The Ramban knew the Christian Bible, because he was forced to be in a disputation to defend Judaism, and he knew the Christian Bible better than the person who was his opponent. And it's all written down, that we have a record of all that was said. They might all be monotheistic from a general outsider's point of view. But Torah is Torah, and nothing else is Torah. The Rambam says that Christianity is avodah zarah. He says Islam isn't. Torah's requirement is for the goy to know. For a Jew is forced to convert chas v'shalom to apostasy, to Islam, to moser nefesh. So it's not just coming to that ultimate situation, it's coming to things in the beginning. Art classes. If you're majoring in art, that's a whole separate discussion. That's not for us now. I don't know if it's mutter to major in art. It's a whole separate discussion. If you're taking silly introductory classes, pay attention to what the content is as much as they are. They're dealing with nudes. They're dealing with churches, and and part of it is not just to see this is a pretty church from the outside, which isn't usher, but this is how the inner place where they pray is built, and this is why they have this thing, and this why they have that thing. At a certain point, it becomes learning about Christianity. It's usher to do. I know I'm going to take such a class in advance. I have to prepare myself for it. I have to get myself ready for such a thing. Psychology, physics. Okay? The biggest apikorsim in the world today are the big physicists who believe in the Big Bang and there was no God. And then sometimes I'm focused on teachers who the class, nothing to do with the class. Every other word is a foul word. All sorts of discussions have nothing to do with what the class is. They just like talking about themselves or talking about what they do with other people, and therefore the immorality is there. Do I stay in the class? Do I go out? How does it affect me? If I don't have my personal reflection, don't know where I myself am holding, I'm not able to deal with them. If everything that confronts me is brand new, then I'm feeling like I'm bombarded. I'm walking on the streets and all of a sudden missiles start falling down on me. I don't know where a shelter is. I don't know where to go. Oved etzot. I know not what to do. There are situations in which I do know what to do if I think about them in advance, and we've talked about them. And no less importantly, ladies, is that you and me and all of us are to be Mekadshe Shem Shemayim. You and me and all of us are to be Mekadshe Shem Shemayim, each one in our own way, because we're all different people. That means I have to be comfortable with my own religiosity. If I'm in a place, if you're in a place where people dress X, Y, Z, and you dress appropriately, properly, respectfully, sneers. But you're uncomfortable being in a situation where everybody else isn't dressing that way, and it comes across because there's body language. You show that you're uncomfortable. It's hard to be Mekadesh Shem Shemayim, because then the message that comes across, whether it's the real message or not, is that I'm uncomfortable with my religiosity. I'm being made to do what I don't want to do. I don't have a choice. I have to dress this way, but I really wish I didn't, especially when everybody else looks cool, etc., 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 with the way that they're behaving, the way they're acting. That goes back to myself, which we started with. A person has to be in touch with themselves. And the less that I'm in touch with myself, the more I'm not going to be successful as a Jew, to do what's right, to be Mekadesh Shem Shemayim. Because I can only be successful if my integrity is in place. And the flaws that I have, and we all have those flaws, I have awareness of them. Whether I choose to fix them today or not is one question. I can't choose to fix them. At another time, we'll see what Reb Yaakov Kamenetsky says. We don't have time for that. But I will point out one thing. There's two types of nisyonos, says the Mesilas Yesharim in the very introduction. There's a nisayon golui, and there's a nisayon nistar. The nisayon golui is that which I'm aware of. There's issues. I have to figure out what to handle them. I might handle them well, I might handle them poorly. I might have done my preparation well, I might not have done my preparation well. But as long as they're golui, as long as they are recognized by me, as long as I know them, if today I did not face up to them correctly, at least tomorrow I have the chance to face them correctly and to be successful in dealing with them and making them the opportunities and not the problems. A nisyon nistar, that which I've never thought before, and all of a sudden I get caught in the downpour of challenges that I don't know how to deal with, I don't know how to navigate myself, and I'm lost. We have an obligation to make our life as much as possible, not to rid ourselves of the nisyonos. That's an impossibility. That isn't going to work. What I can do, though, is as much as possible to remove that which is hidden from me, to make myself aware, to know what's there, to prepare myself, to face those challenges that I think I'm able to face, and to remove myself from those areas which I don't think I'm ready to face at this moment. Protect myself. That's one way of dealing with challenges. Step to the side. But not that it should be nistar, it shouldn't be hidden. Kadosh Baruch Hu gives us awareness, gives us knowledge. Hashem Tzadik Yivchon. If we're ever in a test, Hashem Tzadik Yivchon, we can be a tzaddik in that test. That's a havtocha from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But like for any other test, I have to prepare, I have to do our homework. What we did today was to talk about a little bit of that homework, how we prepare ourselves, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should grant us that we should be the tzaddik, that if Hashem decides to test us, we should be able to meet with His approval, that we pass the test, even with a mark of 100. Kol Tuv.